Hello.
Hello. Happy New Year, everybody, and happy Truckiversary.
Today, excavator to
Lublin.
to Lublin.
To Lublin.
Let's look at it.
It's a pretty excavator.
Yep, just like the last one. Maybe I won't ding anybody with this excavator.
And that brings us to the fact that this is a time for reflection. It's a time for renewal. It's a time to consider where we've been in these 10 entire episodes of Trucks.
Well, as it turns out, we've been... Oh, this doesn't show us where we've been already. Oh yeah, it does. The yellow road is where we've been. Let's reflect.
God, we need to go to Dijon.
We've been to approximately 40% of this game, by the look of it.
Yeah.
Not including the expansion.
I think that we can say, with our heads held high, that we can be proud of what we've accomplished here. That we have trucked across about 40% of imaginary Europe.
Oh, fuck. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna make it.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Did you ding somebody with your excavator already?
No.
Alright, beautiful. So, since this is a time of reflection, we thought that we would perhaps do this episode about best ofs.
Best ofs.
Best ofs.
Best of lists. Best of 2013.
Our best of lists, other people's best of lists, why other people's best of lists are not good.
Why ours is the best of the best of lists.
Essentially, both of ours, even though they will not be the same, are simultaneously the best. And just to make it exciting and in keeping with the philosophy of Truck Comedy Hour 2000, we have not prepared it.
No. I've done some thinking about what I liked the best during the year, though. I find it's hard to avoid, isn't it?
Yeah, no, with all these fucking best of lists around everywhere.
Yeah, I have a feeling it might be hard to avoid, even were that not a standard thing. Oh my god, what happened?
You turned off your headlights and then smashed into their tender, and now we're about to get hit by a truck.
Don't... Okay.
You're terrible.
I thought we were in England for some reason.
Yep. Alright. And you appear to be just sort of drifting in a direction, and you turned off your headlights again.
I was restarting my engine.
Okay.
Let's all think about my best car accidents.
The one where the car ended up pinioned horizontally under your wheels is hard to beat.
Yeah, that was probably the best one.
But then there's the one where you murdered that guy right in front of the tunnel.
Yeah, I did name an episode after that one.
Yeah.
Manslaughter in Switzerland.
Yeah, not one of our best episodes, that one.
Not part of the truck canon.
Absolutely. It's pretty much the lesbians.
The lesbians was a very good one.
The lesbians.
Although I think the one where we answered John Ho's questions was also pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think that I can speak entirely confidently with the benefit of hindsight that one was rapturously received.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, leave us a comment about whether or not you like this episode.
Nobody ever leaves us any comments, and we will eventually stop asking.
But every time except that time I'm asking for absurd comments, which is part of the joke, you see.
Oh, no.
Let's think about the best leave us a comment joke I've made.
Top 10 leave us a comment jokes. Leave us a comment about...
Leave us a comment about our top 10 best meta commentary.
It's a Friday afternoon, guys. I mean, what do you want from us? Really, what do you want from us? What do you want from us?
Do you want some trucks?
After
well,
all
you
this,
got them.
Yeah, exactly. Trucks you will have. Trucks in abundance. Yeah, so anyway, so Josh.
Yeah?
Top 10 things.
The top 10 things in one list?
Yeah.
I think an easier way to approach this might be, what was your favorite X?
That's not a top 10 list.
Well, no, but it's a best of list, regardless.
No, we should definitely start with our number 10s for the year. What's your 10th favorite thing of the year?
My 10th favorite thing of the year.
Yep. Your 10th favorite object, concept, or person.
I'm going to have to do some mental consolidation here.
Oh. You know what? I'm not sorry. I'm the opposite of sorry.
I think my 10th favorite thing all year might be like Iron Man 3.
That seems like a pretty reasonable place to put Iron Man 3. You know what? I'm going to co-sign that.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to say that also my 10th favorite thing of the year was Iron Man 3.
Okay.
I liked looking at Pepper Potts. She's pretty. I liked the explosions.
Yeah.
I liked the thing with Robert Downey Jr. and the small child.
Yeah.
That whole thing was completely unnecessary and yet so charming.
Yeah, I liked the kind of unconventional structure that the plot had going.
I liked how it looked like it was going to be all like, weird with its racial politics, and then turned out to be kind of aware of that and clever about it.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked how I didn't quite like how it passed the Bechdel test just to say that it could, as a kind of a fuck you. That was a little bit off-putting.
Yeah. Like, it's a strange one. Like, Gwyneth Paltrow's role in that movie was, like, alternatingly pretty good and, like, totally damsel in distress.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they were aware that they were damseling this character, and so they also gave her some cool stuff to do. But you know, it's kind of that just means
there's a little bit of have, eat, cake, have, and eat with the cake in this movie.
Yeah, but the funny thing about it is that oftentimes when that's the formula, you just kind of cancel out to sort of blah. But in this case, it was like, here's the good part and here's the bad part. It was more polarized in this case, if you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and so the feeling that one left with was that one had been on a rollicking thrill ride.
Yeah.
Both in terms of the action and in terms of whether you liked the movie.
Right. And it was smart, if flawed.
Yeah, no, I think that we can totally, with confidence, give Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man III our 10th Best Thing of the Year award.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, are we going to do number 9 now?
Yeah.
We have to think of something we liked a little more than Iron Man 3.
Okay, something that I liked a little bit more than Iron Man 3 this year. I don't know.
Stroke the microphone. You're doing it again.
Stroke the microphone. That's my favorite band.
Stroke the mic.
Yeah, actually, why don't we take an intermission from this and discuss something about another person's top 10 list while we try desperately to think of our 9th favorite thing of the year.
This is a terrible format.
I'm really enjoying it, and I'm not apologizing for it. I think that this is amazing success.
All right.
And we can list our top 10 things afterward that we've come up with in the crucible of our passion.
We'll see if we remember them.
We're recording this.
That's true. Yeah, but, I mean, we're not going to go back. Okay, whatever. What other top 10 lists do you want to talk about?
My top 10 lists? I wanted to talk about the fact that the AV Club named a TV show that I'd never heard of as their best TV show of the year.
What TV show?
Enlightened.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
What did they say about it?
It's the story of a lady who has some troubles, apparently.
What kind of troubles?
She loses her job, house and heart thing, and she's never very sympathetic, apparently. That's the brilliant thing about the show, is that she's never very sympathetic.
Oh, the unsympathetic main character.
Yeah.
I guess that's sort of new for TV. I mean, when it tries to do that, you get Walter White, who's, like, super sympathetic.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they gave Breaking Bad the number 2 spot and gave this the number 1 spot.
I mean, that seemed very intense. But also, like, the guy who had to write about Breaking Bad, like, he overwrote that thing like crazy. Well, it was nuts.
People are stupid about Breaking Bad. We've been over this.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen people be stupid about Breaking Bad in a less transparent way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, top 10 lists bring out the worst.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, the very worst writing that you're likely to get out of a person.
Pitchfork's top tracks list was like...
Oh my god.
It wasn't like... almost none of these... Why the fuck are you messaging me while I'm recording trucks? That's going to be in the video. Whatever. Really, the pop-ups are Fraps captures those? Yep. Fuck you, Arachnid's Grift, or whatever the hell your name is. Yeah. So, where were we? We were talking about Pitchfork. We were talking about, I was going to say that almost none of these things we've named have actually been top 10 lists. Yeah. I mean, Pitchfork's thing is a top 50 list. The AV Club's was a top 3, essentially. I think that one of the things the top 10 lists are good for, or the end of the year best ofs are good for, is now I'm going to seek out this show and watch an episode or 2 of it, even though I never heard of it, because I think that the choice to make it their number 1 was so bold that you got to investigate. You got to investigate, which leads me to another thing, which is one of the things that's terrible about most best of lists is that they're so safe, which is Pitchfork's problem right now. Yeah. Yes. I just wanted to ask if you could remember what they put below Breaking Bad. Bob's Burgers. Oh, never saw it. Is a brave choice, but possibly a very good one. I like Bob's Burgers a lot. I'm outraged that Homeland wasn't on the list. I'm not actually outraged. This was not the best season of Homeland. It was a good season of Homeland, though. Yeah. Whatever. Bob's Burger. You should check out Bob's Burgers. There's a couple of very interesting. Whenever people say Bob's Burgers to me, my mind turns to Good Burger. It's not very much like Good Burger at all. Okay. No, there are no Keenans or Wanses in this one. Oh, who the fuck was even in Bob's Good Burger? Keenan and I am going to assume Kel. Oh yes. Tia and quite possibly Tamara.
From our childhoods. My childhood, not yours, really.
I kind of assume that that's a duo.
Yeah, they go together like a horse and carriage. So, but yeah, Bob's Burgers. One of the interesting things about Bob's Burgers, besides the fact that H. John Benjamin is in it, and H. John Benjamin makes everything he's in like a lot better.
Talk about a lonely road, man.
We're driving through the German countryside at night. Yep.
It's never as empty as it should be. I'm sorry, go on.
That's okay. Is that most of the female characters on the show are played by men, but the show is definitely focused on its female characters. The article from the AV Club made the contention that the reason the show is good is that it is about Tina, the eldest daughter of the Bob's Burgers family, who is a awkward, self-conscious teenager going through puberty, and who writes erotic friend fiction. And
good Lord.
And she's ripped from the headlines, and is all about butts and touching butts, but is also like so awkward that she's basically paralyzed into inaction by any decision.
Oh, good.
And she makes a noise like.
She sounds like a real person. She doesn't necessarily sound that entertaining to watch.
Oh, the format of the show is like joke.
Okay.
It is like a super snappy, fast-paced like joke sitcom.
Okay.
In a matter of this, in the Simpsons Family Guy tradition.
Would you say that Bob's Burgers is your 9th favorite thing of the year?
Oh boy, I didn't watch enough of it for it to be my 9th favorite thing of the year. But thanks for bringing us back to that. I think that my 9th favorite thing of the year was possibly. Speaking of H. John Benjamin, who was in this as well, was possibly the season of The Venture Brothers that aired this year. And I'm afraid that you're not going to have anything to say about that.
No.
We should probably try to find consensus.
Yeah. What's our 9th favorite thing of the year?
What's our 9th favorite thing of the year?
This is the problem Pitchfork faces every year.
How about Adventure Time? Should that be this far down?
I think it's probably higher up.
Yeah, it's higher up. Okay. What about...
I'm trying to think of like a video game that I felt okay about, like pretty good about. Well, not that super good about. Maybe Receiver, actually. This might be when I bring up Receiver, but you don't know anything about Receiver, so... That's
fine. So our ninth best thing of the year is Venture Brothers and the video game Receiver.
Okay. You want to write a brief review of the Venture Brothers while I write a brief review of Receiver?
All right.
Isaac, you're being a smartass.
I'm doing what you told me to do.
Well, first of all, no, you're not.
They don't know that.
All right. Well, read the review you just wrote.
Oh, okay. Venture Brothers is a show. It's pretty good. Really, it's kind of one of those shows that now has an impossible barrier to entry because it takes for fucking ever for new episodes to come out, and the lore in it is really deep and twisty. And if you have to start from the beginning, you're starting for some pretty dodgy material. So it's tough to convince people who aren't already heads to sign up. But the shows themselves have some of the best jokes on TV. And this latest season had a wide variety of cool guest stars like John Hodgman. There were twists, turns, and funs aplenty. And my favorite character, Hank Venture, continues to become more fun and more interesting as he becomes a kind of strangely gender ambivalent but relentlessly positive teenage adventurer.
Are there really like that many things you like more than the Venture Brothers?
Yeah, I mention it here at number 9 because it's so... I was really into it while it was on, but when it's not on, it just sort of vanishes from my head. I think that one of the benefits or the things about the top 10 year list is that it helps you remember stuff.
True, yes. It is a nice time to think back to shit that came out during the beginning of the year that you've kind of forgotten about.
Exactly, but it's like but I think that if you're going to give something the top spot, it should be something that is like basically pleased you continuously.
Yeah.
From there in, unless it's the sort of thing that you would experience it once and then you wouldn't want to go back to it, but still the experience of it should still be with you. And I actually don't remember a whole lot of specifically about this Venture Brothers season, just besides enjoying it very much while it was on, So I think number 9 is probably a pretty good place to put it.
Okay. Well, for me it's Receiver, which
It's a first-person shooter made in a week, where the main gimmick is that, well, there's, I guess, two gimmicks. One is that it's a roguelike first-person shooter of a sort, which is pretty unusual for that genre of games. And the other is that your gun is very detailed. You actually have to deal with, like, the chamber and the slide and the safety and the hammer and all that stuff. So it's a very different experience from playing most of your other first-person shooters, where your character kind of handles that for you. Sometimes by magic. And this lends it a tactile sense, which is cool, and it works to clever effect with the kind of the trepidation and urgency of the gameplay, which is highly lethal. Every single enemy you encounter is a threat. And the first time you have to reload your gun, like, while under pressure, is one of those, like, rare to find moments of gaming zen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But what's also really, really clever about it is that the storytelling is told in a non-linear way. You collect these tapes that you listen to, and they describe this existential threat that you're facing, and like, literally in some sort of bizarre multiverse kind of setting. And they're kept from being, like, too ridiculous by, like, in the fiction. They are forced to be kind of terse and urgent, so you don't get, like, an overwhelming amount of bullshit detail. But the idea is that you need to listen to all 11 tapes, which you will never do in a single playthrough, and absorb them carefully, and upon doing so you'll apparently reach some kind of enlightenment. And the clever thing is that while playing the game over and over again, you're going to hear these tapes an awful lot, even if you're never going to hear all 11 of them in a single playthrough. And this kind of has a fun symmetry to it.
Cool.
With the way you're also learning to use the gun.
I should mention that based on I watched Josh play this for a little bit earlier, and it's better than it sounds. The tape bit particularly is better than it sounds somehow. I think, like, writing is so crucial with a game like this.
Right.
Like,
it's
not necessarily
fair.
Good writing,
Yeah.
but effective and not unbearable writing, given the circumstances of having to listen to this shit over and over again.
Yeah.
And having, people with nice voices to read it.
Yeah.
So, seems like a game that's very well thought. But anyway,
it's been kind of overlooked. I want to add, like, no one's writing about that game anymore.
That's why it goes on this list, to bring it back into the public discourse. At number 9.
Yes, at number 9.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think of so many things I like less than Receiver, but that I want to mention anyway.
Yeah, no, that's
I guess that's kind of
the deal, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh God.
What do we got for number 8?
I like to nominate the podcast The Bugle.
The Bugle, huh?
Yep, for my 8th best favorite thing of the year, because it has not this year's episode certainly, but in aggregate it has just given me a lot of joy. The comedy styles of John Oliver and Andy Saltzman, who are satirists,
mm-hmm.
And who have managed to continue to pump this thing out regardless of John Oliver's, like, summer schedule and all of this stuff, and taking over the Daily Show, which he did for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just been solid entertainment. What about you for number 8?
I guess we're going to do a podcast for number 8, which we might as well.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying Comedy Bang Bang quite a lot.
Oh, with Scott Tuckerman.
Scott Tuckerman. He Tuckerman's like an Ockerman.
Yep.
I think it's pretty funny. It didn't start in 2013, but there's I discovered it in 2013, and it had episodes in 2013, so fuck you, it counts.
Yeah, no, the serial entertainment like that totally counts. Like, Homeland did start in 2013.
That's true.
Neither did Bob's Burgers.
But Homeland's 3rd season did take place entirely in 2013. Well, whatever.
That's completely beside the point.
Yeah. But I don't know. I haven't even heard that much of the 2013 stuff for Comedy Bang Bang. Although one thing I did hear was delightful. It's some dude who I can't remember impersonating Werner Herzog for an episode.
Oh, yeah.
He does that more than once. And
top thing of 2013, I saw a picture of Werner Herzog from the shooting of Fitzcarraldo with a parrot on his shoulder. I put that on Tumblr. Anyway, continue.
So you've skipped ahead all the way to the end.
No, that's not really it.
Okay.
That was a joke.
Yeah, and Werner Herzog is just such a hilarious personality, but a very difficult one to craft into comedy. Even though there's something inherently hilarious about him, it's hard to uncouple from, like, how disturbing the shit he says tends to be.
Now, have you seen the Comedy Bang Bang TV show?
I have.
With Reggie Watts?
Yes.
Do you think that it stacks up?
I think the podcast is better.
Okay.
I think the TV show is definitely worth a watch as well.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like, it's unpretentious.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I like about this stuff. It's sort of old school kind of sketch comedy fun.
Right. And they're just some guys who are good at being funny, laughing at each other's
just
jokes.
Just being funny. Yeah.
This is kind of what I like less about the TV show, is that if it's a little bit better planned out and they do not laugh at each other's jokes. And this has a serious effect on the tone. Not a poor effect, but still it feels less organic to me.
Number 8 thing of the year, hearing people laugh at other people's jokes.
Yeah, I guess.
It's actually a really pleasant experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of why I listen to the radio. Cool.
Okay, on to number 7.
Here, I want to take a break from this arduous task for a second.
You got?
I've been playing Namco High.
Namco High. That's not on the list, huh?
I really don't think in good conscience that you could put anything that came out in December on a top 10 list.
Fair enough.
Because you don't have enough time to process it. I haven't played all of it, right? And there's quite a lot of it to play. There's a whole bunch of, apparently, like, you can do all these straight tracks with different characters, but apparently you can get other endings by mixing it up a little bit. I haven't even started to delve into that.
Interesting. And
the thing that I want to mention, first of all, it's unassuming, it's kind of brilliant. And it's clearly written by many different people.
Right.
And the bits of it which are written by Brian Clevenger of 8-Bit Theater and Atomic Robo fame are very, very clear that they're in his style. But a lot of it is like surprisingly emotionally affecting. It very much takes pains to mimic the cadences and visual styles of a Japanese dating sim, and including like relentless inner monologuing from the character who's supposed to be you, which is both authentic and annoying as hell. But the character arcs that they take are actually kind of a little bit affecting, and the bits that are supposed to tug on your emotions kind of do. And so it's good. And some of the jokes just never stop being funny. I'll just say that I have involuntarily laughed, even though I knew it was coming, every time the Pac-Man shows up. Every time. So,
all right.
So enjoy that. And I also want to. There's one very interesting thing about the way that this game is constructed, which is that it has an ending theme song. The ending theme song is bonkers terrible, like intentionally so.
Okay. Does Ender Hussey sing?
No. It is a lady with a very sonorous but very flat voice.
Is this game voice acted, by the way?
No.
Okay.
It'd be very difficult for it to be voice acted.
Right.
And I feel like we should link to this song, which must be on YouTube by this point. But the thing about it is that there is a little ending splash picture at the end of every arc. You have to sit through the whole credits.
Oh my god.
There is no way to skip it. I've tried to skip it using a number of different ways. It starts you back from the beginning if you do. They're very invested in you hearing the whole song every time you play through the game that has like 40 different playthroughs.
Okay.
It's maddening. And the song is going to be in my head forever.
That sounds like
it sounds like an Andrew Hussey choice to me.
Yeah, I can't think of another such a clear example of an intentional deployment of really bad game design. Which, I mean, I guess it's suitable in a dating simulator, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really something. And I really enjoy it in a way.
Speaking of intentional applications of really bad game design.
Yeah. Number 7?
Number 7. I don't know if this applies, actually, to the thing I just said, but whatever. Number 7, Michael Brau's Corrupt.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, that's
I think that actually came out in 2008, but fuck it, whatever. I mean, sorry, 2012.
All right, yeah. Nobody heard of it until this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good game.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Oh, good lord. Well, okay. Corrupt starts out as a Sokoban puzzle game.
By that he means a box shover.
By that I mean a Sudoku puzzle game.
It's not a Sudoku puzzle game.
Yeah, it's a box shoving puzzle game where you got these tight environments and like these single solution puzzles where you have to push the boxes in just the right way. They're logical, and you need to move on to the next environment, or you need to collect the thing from this environment and then get back out. You can go back a step so you're not going to get yourself stuck, and it's pretty typical at that point. Although it does have a really, really cool audiovisual aesthetic. Michael Brow is kind of a master at creating this pixel art, even though he doesn't appear to be a trained artist. Like, his stuff has this weird feel to it. Can you describe this better than I can? It's delicate but coarse.
The pixels are very large.
The pixels are very large, but
the colors contrast in alarming ways.
Yeah, but it's got an organic feel to it. It doesn't feel like someone like fucking around in Microsoft Paint. It
Yeah, he has a very developed aesthetic style, which is also very primitive.
Yeah. And the music is similarly. It seems like the music plays kind of random notes at you, literally, just with different instruments depending on what environment you're in.
This game is like definitely high up there in the sort of aesthetic of corruption.
Yes.
Or the aesthetic of lo-fi reproduction,
mm-hmm.
which the Idea Channel videocast, which is not on my top 10 list for the year,
mm-hmm.
Did a pretty good episode about the appeal of distortion, essentially, and glitching as art. And I would say that this guy is so firmly planted in this aesthetic that he is maybe one of the more pure exponents of it that I've seen.
Yeah.
While still making sure that the games he designs are good games.
Yeah. He's a very cool designer. He's made a bunch of other things that are worth looking at.
This one's free and is a quick download, and you really ought to.
Yeah. He's one of the creators where it's the clearest when you're playing it that, like, wow, video games are, like, blatantly art. It's, like, not even ambiguous. The twist that comes with this game is that once you reach more or less the midpoint of the game, you encounter the magician, whom you have been told to fear. And he grants you magic. And it turns out what magic does is it...
You really want to explain the twist?
This is a review.
Yeah, you're right.
Skip ahead to the time on your screen if you don't want Corrupt to be spoiled. No, for real. Like, it is worth playing without spoilers. Okay, I'll try and be more or less vague about it. A twist comes that changes the nature of the game entirely, and it raises questions about the style of game you're playing, while also creating it's kind of a gut-wrenching experience.
Yeah, it's a little catastrophic.
Yeah, it throws all of your expectations completely out the window, and it's hard to find the words for how affecting it is, honestly.
I would say that it is not quite that affecting, but it's definitely...
what I mean is it's hard to find the words for the precise nature of how affecting it is.
Sure.
But I've never seen anything quite like it, and you should definitely check it out. Okay.
Cool.
There we go.
Actually, that reminds me of... if we're talking about games which are very affecting more in how they work than what the story actually is.
Right. It was a good year for those overall.
Yeah. I want to mention Analog, which also came out last year, but the sequel...
A Hit Story?
But the sequel, the sequel Hit Plus came out this year, and I think that... I've yet to get Josh to play that, but it's a storytelling game, but it's a very interesting storytelling game. And it makes you do the gut-wrenching thing.
Cool.
In a way that is unexpected and works very well.
Another example, which probably belongs on this list somewhere, but it would be a bit redundant at this point, is Papers, Please. You already know about Papers, Please. If
Clearly.
You don't, then who are you?
So this is the point where we include all games that
do this
exact thing.
Yeah.
In the list.
I'm just...
Correct,
I'm giving an honorable mention to Papers, Please. That's what I'm doing.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Have we got a number 6 yet?
Yeah, number 6. I'm running out of good things.
Oh. I've got a bunch of good things, but I'm kind of saving a few of them for the end here.
What
about music? What's your favorite music?
Yeah, I guess we haven't talked about music yet. So number 6, I would say that this year in music is worth about a number 6.
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
I mean, this has not been my favorite music year.
My favorite thing music-wise that came out this year was probably the Boards of Canada album.
That's true. I mean, I think that there are going to be some people who will feel that the Boards of Canada album is the best thing that came out this year. There will be people who think that My Bloody Valentine album was the best thing that came out this year.
Right.
I think for similar reasons, although mutually incomprehensible ones.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this band basically does exactly the same thing they used to do. But it's been a while since they did it last.
Boards of Canada's new album is, if that's a comparison you're making, it doesn't quite do the same thing. They use some similar tools, but when you compare it to the My Bloody Valentine album, it's not a carbon copy like that.
Yep. But my favorite music for this year tended to be of the quirky one-off variety. Like silly, happy stuff, weirdly, which is not always where I come down with this. Alistair Roberts' album, A Wonder-Working Stone, which I've probably played enough that people are pretty sick of it at this point in this house, is a lovely little double album, which is just a whole lot of him being very happy to have a full band and playing like very long folk songs whose lyrics are mostly meditations on the role of song and of the fate of Caledonia, where he's from. Scotland.
Sounds nice.
And we got there's the album that came out this year by The Uncluded, which are Aesop Rock and Kimya Dawson. Speaking of albums which have speaking of things which have an unexpected emotional heft.
I tend to be unable to stand Aesop Rock.
What exactly about Aesop Rock can't you stand? Because this album actually does a lot to mitigate some of his more annoying tendencies.
I suppose that when I listen to him, he tends to sound like he thinks he's better than his peers.
It's very hard to put him next to Kimya Dawson. Pretty much diffuses that, and this is a thing I've heard in a couple of places from a couple of people. Like some people's problem with Aesop Rock is that he is essentially impenetrable, and that is not the case here because he's very much limited by the context of the album to making sense.
Right.
And what he lacks in emotional depth and availability, Kimya really puts in.
Yeah.
The album might be too silly for your tastes anyway, but it has a great song about...
silly in what way? Well, tell me what the great song is about.
Kimya Dawson's music tends to be a little bit childish.
I can't think of who Kimya Dawson is.
She's most famous, unfortunately, for being heavily featured on the Juno soundtrack at this point. But she...
Kind of like mumblecore music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, anti-folk was what they called it back in the day. She was in the Moldy Peaches.
Right.
And she's very much the sort of person who would be on K Records, and she is on K Records. And this is... K Records, by the way, is the record label founded by Beat Happening frontman and serial philanderer Calvin Johnson, and has sort of been the standard bearer of Northwest Lo-Fi for a very, very long time. So like...
I'm just going to check if there's a rest stop coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in a little trouble, actually.
Oh, dear.
Well, I guess I could make that detour.
Yeah, maybe you could detour.
It's a pretty big detour.
All right.
It looks like I can fight it or make the detour.
Okay. So like there's a song on here about... The songs tend to be Kimya singing and then Aesop rapping, like, and passing it back and forth, although she raps sometimes as well and he sings sometimes. And like there's a song about donating your organs. It's important to give away your pieces in the planning surrounding your death.
That's like a nursery rhyme melody.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very much a nursery rhymey kind of album. Although some of it's a little harsher, and a lot of it's about death. In fact, the whole album is about death. That's kind of the point. But it's still pretty good.
I've decided not to take the detour.
Okay. Everything we say now will just sound really boring because the computer's yawning at it. So I would say Aesop... I like that album a lot. The other albums I liked... Shugo Tokumaru put out an album this year, which, if music criticism was about how catchy and well-crafted a piece of music was, which it isn't, it would have been on everybody's top 10 lists, and it wasn't. It's just beautiful fucking Beatles-y pop songs that are, like, super well...
Maybe I should take the fucking detour.
Are you falling asleep?
Yeah, my thing just turned red.
Oh dear.
It's not actually that far.
No, you can do it, dude. You can do it.
Okay. I'll probably eat a napping fine.
And the album that has been on the top of a lot of people's safe, predictable top 10 lists, the Vampire Weekend album, I actually quite liked.
It was pretty good. I don't know about best album of the year, but then again, there aren't that many good albums this year.
Yeah.
Chance the Rapper. Did you mention him?
Oh fuck! I forgot to mention Chance the Rapper. Okay, that's my number 6.
Okay.
Of my very favorite things of the year, if not higher, but we'll say number 6. So that's where music is going. My number 6 favorite thing of the year is Chance the Rapper's album, Acid Rap, because he is brilliant.
Go ahead, do your thing, do the spiel. I'll do my Boards of Canada spiel after you did this.
Okay. Chance the Rapper is a really, really young dude out of Chicago. He is the album title Acid Rap is, as you might imagine, a reference to the fact that he takes acid along with a bunch of other things, and smokes a lot. And he's just out of high school, and he's really, really, really smart, and real clever, and has a sort of a style that is incredibly unique, and it's like really cool to hear somebody with a style that's so unique at such a young age. His wordplay is occasionally really, really sharp, and sometimes will just come out of nowhere and hit you.
And he has really cool sounding beats too.
He does. His production is pretty. His production aesthetic is very, very sort of mellow, old school kind of California feeling. And he's a bit of a sentimentalist, which can be a drawback. And he's a little bit misogynist, like all rappers are. Well, most. But that's pretty muted.
Right.
And
that's it, huh? Seems like that's it.
Yeah, the song to listen to is called Juice, and we'll put a link to it in the description.
Okay. I really like Boards of Canada. Their album this year was a super interesting one. It was their first one in a long time. They're like this production-oriented duo from Scotland. For this album, they had stories about how they spent like hundreds of man-hours driving through, weird parts of Europe to find this rare analog synthesizer that they ended up using like for 10 seconds of music. Or less, like 1 second of music. And there's really no one who crafts their music so carefully as they do, in terms of the just the what am I looking for here? In terms of just the production side of things, the computers and the different sounds that go into it. And they also have a cool way of weaving concepts in there. In this case, the consensus, like, it's a bizarrely universal consensus for music which is lyricless. Everyone seems to agree. What the hell? Okay. Everyone seems to agree that the music is about... Oops. Shit. Come on now.
It's not a parking space. I don't believe it.
How could this not be a parking space? Normally it's not a parking space because someone is parked here already, right?
No, this has never been a parking space.
But there's white lines.
White lines. You're just in the street, dude.
Why are there white lines
there?
Go
into an actual parking space.
I'm going. Can I park there? I guess not.
Those look like car parking spaces to me.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do a circle here. Everybody seems to agree that this Boards of Canada album is about impending ecological disaster, which is curious because there's no words in the music. It just has like a consistent mood with like old 80s horror movie arpeggios and yeah, it's not working because I'm all sideways. Yep. Okay, let's go forwards. Shit, I'm gonna get in like a parking car. Oh no, it was gonna work.
Yes, it was.
Guys, this stinks.
It doesn't stink that much. You're just terrible. There
okay,
you go.
It doesn't matter at all. Let's go.
Park. Sleep. Just sleep. Just go to sleep.
But it is interesting how clearly they get that message across. Not with any like particular like agenda. In fact, in an interview, they've said more that they're interested in just almost celebrating the idea of impending ecological disaster, which is, I guess, a little silly. But what's really cool about them is how their music behaves in an almost sculptural way. The final track of the album is in mono, weirdly enough, and it's got a bunch of corruption artifacts, which are genuine corruption artifacts. They're just kind of left in there, and you could liken it to weeds in a garden. But it contributes to the mood rather than detracts from the purity of the sound or anything like that. And they're just in terms of music which creates a space, it's some of the best that I've ever encountered.
Cool. I think you're better at talking about the stuff that you like than I am. Because didn't always used to be the case for me.
Every time you let me talk about something that I like on this show, and you're just quiet, like it's kind of terrifying. I have absolutely no feedback on whether or not I'm doing a good job.
No, I thought that you did. I thought that was very convincing as a reason that somebody might want to seek out this album.
Neat.
Guys, it's not actually that interesting.
What a jerk. It's very interesting. It got like number 30 on the Pitchfork list.
Oh yeah, number 30. Number 30. Was that above or below Lord? Or
I don't remember. I don't think Lord was on there. They gave Lord an honorable mention.
Yeah. No, it was below Sky Ferrer's album, though. I'm pretty sure it was.
Right. Well, of course it was.
Yeah, which was definitely constructed with equal care and attention to detail and effort.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that this might be a good place to talk about the absurdities of music criticism, which is...
I mean, every site has its own thing that it looks for in music, right? Pitchfork reviews music on whether or not you're cool for listening to this. Or at least that's what they used to do.
I think that everybody does that in a way. I tumbled did you see this? I tumbled a quote from from somebody who writes for Alternative Press.
I never really read Alternative Press.
Who, the reason why will become clear shortly. Who basically started off the album saying a whole lot of stuff about how pop punk sucks for this reason and X sucks for that reason and Y sucks for that reason. And it's like, and everybody knows this and all of this is true, but you shouldn't, you got to be proud of what you like, okay. Even the only worse thing than a nerd with bad taste is an apologetic nerd with bad taste, and proceeded to excoriate people for making fun of them too seriously, essentially. And the fun thing about this album that was clearly written from a place of unassailable self-confidence and cool is the dude writes for a specialist punk rag. Mm-hmm. Their top 10 list is laughable, like obscenely laughable.
What's on it?
Oh, hang on, let me bring it up.
Okay. While you do so, I'll just have a brief side mention that a site I really like for music reviews is allmusic.com. Their stuff is written with a very congenial attitude towards, like, if you're looking to get into this artist, this is probably where you should start. If you're looking to get into this kind of music, this is like a shining example of it. It always seems to just evaluate. It's almost like it's trying to be as objective as you can be without pretending that you can really be objective. It's just saying, like, it addresses it based on its intentions and whether or not it meets those intentions successfully. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So check it out. It's really the only music review site I can think of that approaches things that way. And, it's not the only way I would like to see things approached, but it is useful to have some guys who do that.
Yeah, no, I think that they're very useful in that. But yeah, no, the Alternative Press top 10 lists involve Jimmy Eat World, Bring Me the Horizon, Fall Out Boy, 9 Inch Nails.
Oh wow.
Paramore.
Oh wow. All of these bands are the same band. Did they all release
Panic
things
at the
in
Disco.
2013?
Yep, they all did. So this guy has no leg to stand on, essentially. Yeah. From any like critical consensus.
I remember the thing he said in there that like
he's fucked from the beginning.
Yeah, the thing he said in there that pushed my buttons was shoegaze is the new jazz, which means that the only people who listen to it are people pretending to like it.
Yep, which is classic music critic asshole trope, right?
Right.
That's the thing that people on the AV Club say when you praise something they don't understand.
And that's such a crazy thing to say, like, right before saying, hey, if you like it, then own what you like.
Exactly. So and I should mention, and in sort of as a part two to this, I should mention that the highest ranked album by Metacritic, like the album that got the best reviews across the board this year, was Sunbather by Death Heaven.
I never heard it.
It's a metal album.
Okay.
I won't get anything out of this. I can't really listen to metal. Sure. I don't get it. But it's the best album of the year by critical consensus.
Okay.
And this always happens. The albums that get the best reviews are the ones that are like the niche albums that have crossover appeal.
Right.
Like, do you remember Boris? Does anybody remember Boris?
I don't remember Boris.
Does anybody remember Stars of the Lid?
I do vaguely remember them.
Right. The music is for so many different things. Modern music just exists for so many different reasons. You have your your cultural cachet, as you mentioned, for and then you have your cultural cachet, like this bullshit here.
Yeah.
You have your there's like a composition, and then there's like catchiness and pop sensibility, and then there's culture. Like the reason that Kanye West is at number one for most of the top 10 album lists
because he did what he did was significant in that everybody talked about it.
Right, what he did was significant in that he did it where everybody was looking.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything that hadn't been done before, and people had done it better, but he did it as a famous person.
Yeah,
and thus it became useful and interesting, and I think it was useful and interesting for precisely that reason.
Yeah.
The fact that I can't listen to the album because the lyrics are fucking stupid is, beside the point, right?
Yeah. I kind of like that album, but not... I don't know if I've listened to every track and thought, yeah, that's pretty cool right there, but I've never actually listened to the album from start to finish, even though it's really short.
Maybe that's the experience that we all ought to have.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think Black Skinhead's a good track.
Yeah, I think I think all of the tracks have, they serve a distinct function on the album, which is cool. It's well crafted in that way. Whatever. I give that album a thumbs up.
So more so even than most kinds of criticism, music criticism is a crapshoot because of how many different ways to evaluate a given thing there are, and how deeply tied in music is with culture.
Yeah.
And so this is why that all music is really, really useful. It's because it is careful to assess everything within the bounds of its own context.
Yeah.
And its opinions are usually non-controversial and therefore pretty reliable.
Yeah.
But
you won't always agree with them. But.
Right, exactly. But still, you got to... I wish that, since that resource exists, I wish that more people would be more interesting with their choices.
Yeah.
And not just... make a top 10 list made of exactly the things that their readership are already going to really like.
Yeah.
Pitchfork used to be better about that.
Yeah, I feel like there were a few surprise things on that list, but hell if I can remember a single one of them. I mean, Pitchfork at this point, I think they know what they're useful for, and this is a useful function, is if you want to be a part of the discourse, then you should be familiar with everything Pitchfork is giving good reviews. Don't you think that's true? I just dinged my excavator twice on my post. No damage.
Nicely done. I think that's correct. I think that, in our culture, in our subculture, though, right? Like among us,
yes,
people who are like us, you kind of you listen to what Pitchfork listens to in order to be conversant.
Yeah, sure.
And we have our clubs, and we have our ticket venues, and we have this and that we do. And then there's this entire universe of people who play stadia and enormous venues all the time who I have no fucking clue who they are, and they pass almost completely unremarked upon.
Yeah.
And because our demographic is young, white, male, and educated, ours tends to be the one that, well, not male. That's actually a little unfair, but still.
Yeah. So, oh my god.
You dinged your excavator there a little bit.
You kind of grounded up against the thing there.
That's going to be a wicked, difficult paint fix. In the paint fix sim.
No damage.
All right, guys. Number 5.
We're on our top 5 now. I would say that we should now start seeking consensus, but we tend even when we like the same things, we don't even tend to absorb the same things. I feel like maybe our top 3 might be consensus, but
okay, help me out here then. What's your number 5?
Number 5, I don't know. Francis Ha.
Okay, maybe this is movie times.
Yeah, let's do movies.
Oh, we already did Iron Man 3, but that's not a movie.
I'm gonna do Active Killing later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Francis Ha was good. I already wrote a piece about it. Francis Ha is good because it feels really genuine. I mean, it's a tiny bit larger than life, but it's essentially a French New Wave movie about French New Wave. If you don't know, is basically French directors filming women that they have a crush on while they dance in the streets and generally be
smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, generally be Parisians.
Mm-hmm.
And this applied that to New York City. And we're looking at a girl who doesn't realize that she's too old to achieve her dream of being a dancer, and she's kind of dopey but charming, very exuberant emotionally, and what kind of makes it work, even though it sounds like it might make it terrible, is that the lead actress is actually in a relationship with the director, and they co-wrote it and they developed the character together. And what we end up with is a very believable and very emotionally affecting portrait, which is kind of light on narrative, although there are some themes that get in there about growing up and learning to value what's valuable about yourself, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it.
Cool. I'm going to peg arbitrarily my number 5 choice as actually a piece of theater that I saw. I think largely because I ought to, because that's the thing that I do sometimes is to go and watch theater.
Moon and Marble would actually probably be on my list somewhere.
Oh well, thank you. I think that naming things that we ourselves were part of creating is.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of creating Moon and Marble though.
Still. I don't think I can sit here and listen to you explain why you liked it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I had nothing to do with a piece called Sarah Flood and Salem, Mass.
I didn't get to see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, which happened at the Flea Theater, and which was about was about Salem during the witch trials, as you might expect, and was about a time traveling teenager from the future visiting Salem during the witch trials, which is not as you would expect. And there's another thing that is a lot less terrible than it sounds. And this is largely because the cast was enormous. This was the Flea. The Bats are the theater company that occupied the Flea, and there are like 120 of them. And so the cast was enormous, and the characters were enormous and diverse, I should mention. The characters were well drawn. It avoided falling into a number of the pitfalls that you would think this sort of thing would fall into. As far as it talked about gender and race, but was still in a decent and interesting way as it related to this sort of thing. It really marked out the sort of the tensions around tradition and money and movements and all of this, and everybody was very much in motion.
Yeah,
which was good. And it also basically sort of put the lie to the sort of Neutral Milk Hotel, I should go back and save them in some sort of time machine kind of feeling that we with our modern perspective could surely fix the sort of the problems that happened before.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, something that we often forget about our own lives, feeling that we can, or at least I do, feeling that one could go back. If one could go back and do it again, then one would with the benefit of our wisdom, then we could save ourselves much grief when, in fact, it is only as a result of those bad things happening what wisdom we have was gained. And it's really easy to forget about just how difficult and complicated these things were at the time.
That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was. And it had jokes in it.
Cool. That sounds like that would make that easier to swallow.
One of the things that I really liked about it was that the language of it was a combo of super new internet speak and sort of Shakespearean monologuing.
Mm-hmm.
So the language is very dramatic and it was very dramatic, florid, and well executed, but it was also continuously undercut with this sort of stuff that let you know that the writer had a sense of humor about what he was doing, which is about as good or as bad as that sounds to you, I think, depending on how that sounds to you. It was executed very well, but I can see it being a really irritating conceit if you're not willing to get on board with it.
Cool.
So there's my number 5, Sarah Flood and Salem, Mass, a play that you can't see. Sorry.
My number 4 might be the 3rd season of Homeland, unfortunately.
All right. We've talked about that already, haven't we?
No, we didn't end up putting that out.
Oh,
I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, shit. Okay, we're good.
It wasn't even very good.
But yet it was better than all of these other things.
I loved it. Homeland is essentially a slightly smarter version of 24, where it doesn't have straightforward good guys. We
totally did end up talking about this. No, go ahead.
I'm almost positive that I didn't put this episode out.
All right, go for it then.
Leave a comment. Let me know if this is redundant. But it's a smarter version of 24, which doesn't have any straightforward good guys. The main characters are all working for the CIA, and therefore the American interest. But it really doesn't have any shame in putting forward that there's a lot of fucked up collateral damage that happens in these operations, especially as far as the show is concerned on the operatives working for the CIA. These human operations have a human cost. Is kind of that central conceit here. And the main character, a CIA agent, suffers from bipolarism, and this kind of affects the lens of the show in a very interesting way. She's constantly coming up with these absolutely insane, paranoid theories, which turn out every time to be completely true. And it feels like tinfoil hat, government surveillance paranoia, the universe. And I just find that intoxicating, especially because the direction and the performances are always so on point. The cast is incredible. It's the main 3 actors are Damian Lewis from Band of Brothers and probably some other things. Claire Danes, who did Juliet in the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet. Remember that? And Mandy Patinkin, who he's my favorite in this show. He played Inigo Montoya, whose father is dead.
Yep.
The first season,
and George Surratt in the original cast of Saturday in the Park with George.
Who does George Surratt play?
George Surratt was played by Mandy Patinkin.
Oh, got it.
George Surratt painted, the something at the Grand Jatte. He was the pointillist, the founder of pointillism.
Think that light is ever going to turn green?
Yeah, this is a one lane bit.
Okay.
If you attempt to go down there, you were going to get smashed in the face really bad.
Yeah, it's just I've never encountered this in this game before, so I'm kind of skeptical that it even works.
No, we have actually encountered this before. We just hit it while it was green.
Okay.
I remember it.
Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. What do you got for number 4?
I have got. Let's see here. Since I assume we're saving Adventure Time for the top 3.
I suppose so. Yeah.
I might just put Adventure Time in here, frankly.
Okay.
All right. Adventure Time. Come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant lands. We've already talked at length about why Adventure Time is good.
Yes.
But I would say it is in my top 4.
I feel like this is about to happen. Is that everything we're about to mention has been mentioned before already?
Possibly. I have no idea what my top 3 are going to be.
I'm pretty sure my number 1 is going to be Fez.
That came out this year.
The PC version did, so I got to play it this year.
Okay, I'm willing to go with you on that, but we haven't talked about Fez before.
Yeah, we have. We answered Jono's question regarding bombable walls in Zelda with a big thing about Fez.
Oh, fuck. You're right. Well, that's fine.
Anyway, let's move on to number 3.
Let's move on to number 3. Okay, when we're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about this year.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, so here's another issue for me with doing end of the year lists.
Yes.
Is that
all of these numbers thus far have been almost meaningless.
Yeah. Well, that's given.
Yes.
Particularly since we didn't plan this.
Yes.
But I think we've actually done a pretty good job for doing it on the fly in terms of.
This has been okay. There's going to be some things that after we film this episode, I'm going to say, like, I wish I'd mentioned that.
Yeah, we can mention that in a later episode. Or indeed, we've got like 8 hours of this drive left, so I think we're going to end up.
We will have some time left.
But my point was that there's always this tension when I try to evaluate how good a thing is between how much I enjoyed it and how much I feel it excelled in a sort of quasi-objective aesthetic way.
Right.
Like, in terms, like, on the one hand, you can see something which was like this enormous effort and, you know, clear thing, and it was like good art, and then it made you feel kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's not something that really spoke to you personally, or, you know, it's not present with you.
Yeah.
And so the top 10 and particularly like coming at this from music, the top 10 list can never be like the best 10 things. It has to be the 10 things that you got the most enjoyment out of, or the most pleasure out of. So in the spirit of the things that I got I got the most enjoyment out of this year, I'm going to go with basically just Radio 4 British panel shows and quizzes as a whole.
Okay.
I love me some Round Britain Quiz, which is full of insanely difficult riddles that most of which require, like, you had to have grown up British to be able to solve, so there's an extra level of opacity on top of them if you don't have access to the particular culture that they're quizzing you from. Your Counterpoint, which is a classical music quiz that's up on there. You got your... the Radio 4 this year has been rebroadcasting... nobody will listen to these. I tell them to listen to them, and nobody will listen. They've been rebroadcasting things by Ivor Cutler, who is a genius. This stuff is once again not new, but it was rebroadcast on the radio.
So this is your best reissue.
Yeah, in a way. My best reissue is Great British Radio Comedy, which I've seen a lot, which I've heard a lot of this year on Radio 4 Extra. Ivor Cutler, who is this Scottish man who is like permanently old, as far as I can tell. He played Buster Bloodvessel in the Magical Mystery Tour movie, and he looked like 95 years old then, and he was still putting out stuff in the late 80s and 90s. He's a poet and musician, kind of, but mostly I would say he's a poet primarily. He talks in this sort of truculent, soft voice, and...
Speaking of truculent, this is succulent.
I'm still absorbing the ramifications of that one, Josh. Wow. Look at dawn breaking over the horizon there. But anyway, so he's...
I'm on the move!
He's this completely unique poetic genius, essentially. He is the sort of person who... it's the kind of Archie and Mahita Bell sort of like... a thing that is just there for no particular reason, aesthetic that I love. And then they rebroadcast a bunch of stuff by Simon Munnery, who did this character called the League Against Tedium, who was kind of a Nietzschean haranguer of the masses, and also kind of a pathetic character himself, but so overwhelmingly smug and condescending that it sort of moves around to being like deeply enjoyable on a certain level, which I've gotten a catchphrase out of, which I use occasionally now.
Right.
And I still do that. I still absorb catchphrases. I will never be a grown-up. I would say that the thing that has given me in aggregate the most hours of enjoyment, particularly during dull work days this year, has been BBC Radio 4 and Radio 4 Extra.
All right. I guess I'm gonna kind of do something awkward and say that my number 3 was the 5th season of Adventure Time, because I'm running out of ideas here. And this has the curious effect of meaning that I am listing that higher than Isaac is.
Even though I'm pretty sure I like Adventure Time more than Josh does.
Yes. maybe this means I just like things less in general than Isaac does, which is definitely not the case.
Yeah, absolutely not the case. It goes to show that this is a flawed format.
Maybe Isaac should swap his last 2 entries. And
maybe.
Let's go for a unified top 3, okay? Adventure Time is our top 3.
Our
third best.
All 3?
No, Adventure Time is our third best thing.
Okay, Adventure Time is our third best thing.
And let's talk about let's actually spend a moment talking about the 5th season in particular and what made it cool. We did touch on this when we talked about Adventure Time before, but probably most of you, maybe not all of you, even listened to that episode. So who are we to assume that our entire audience is keeping up with this episode by episode?
Who are we indeed? Who am us anyway?
What's really cool about Adventure Time's 5th season is that it started to introduce some, more than the prior seasons had done, some really adult themes into the show.
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. Nope. My train of thought totally stopped and crashed. You carry this torch, please.
Okay. Adventure Time. The 5th season of Adventure Time not only was notable for the interesting guest artists that they brought on and the cool little tangents that the show took, but also in that it kept going. It's enormous. It hasn't stopped. It's been like all year this has been happening.
Yeah.
And the quality has been remarkably consistent given that. And also they're getting away with, and I'm pretty sure that we did talk about this, but Finn is like going through puberty and is just as awkward as you would imagine.
Right.
And they're able to treat this with a kind of honesty that is kind of exciting to me.
And it's always multifaceted, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the big Finn going through puberty episodes was the one where he found the miniature versions of all the characters of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And he started making them kiss in various absurd combinations.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, okay, we're seeing Finn, number 1, experiment with sexuality. Number 2, experiment with fan fiction writing.
Right.
And
a lot of people were upset because they viewed that as a kind of a slap in the face to fanfic
and
writers.
it is also that. It is also a comment on fan fiction and what motivates its writers. So it's always kind of multi-determined what the episodes are about, which is really impressive for 15-minute cartoon episodes.
Yeah. They
looks like I might actually have to sleep again in a bit. This has been a really long...
They pulled off this really has been the 10th episode of Truck Extravaganza. They pulled off an homage to the Star Trek episode The Inner Light in 15 minutes, which was actually
the pillow one.
Really just about awesome.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't get that reference, where he's referring to the episode where Finn lives an adult life.
Nobody here doesn't get that.
Surely someone here doesn't get that reference.
Anyway,
I'm sure most people here don't get that reference.
Well, aren't we living in Star Trek? Even as yeah, but so that was the episode with the pillows called Puhoi.
Jonathan Frakes.
The fact that speaking of Trek, the fact that they've been just accumulating all of the Next Generation actors to guest star has been pretty good.
Yeah.
The stuff with they've managed to sort of quietly push the stuff with Marceline and Princess Bubblegum. Princess Bubblegum is a character unlike any other character on certainly children's TV, probably TV in general.
Yeah.
It is like
a lovable autocrat.
I wish Game of Thrones had a character that was as interesting as Princess Bubblegum.
Oh gosh,
and
that was a damning thing you just said. I mean, the Game of Thrones fans would be outraged to hear you say that. But you're right.
I stand by it.
Princess Bubblegum is an archetype that would be fascinating to see on something like Game of Thrones.
Yep. God, which publication? It was like New York. It was one of the third tier New York tabloids that listed Game of Thrones as its show of the year for this year. AM New York or something like that. Anywho, so yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That is our number 3 thing of this year. Adventure Time has been super great, and also this kind of is a sort of an Adventure Time spin-off in a way, in the way that Futurama is kind of a Simpsons spin-off. Mm-hmm. But Bravest Warriors is super fucking good. You really should check it out. I know that Josh hasn't watched it.
You were skeptical of it at first.
I was wrong.
Okay.
Bravest Warriors is first of all, just off the chain in terms of the craziness of its plotting. It has the same sort of like unhinged feeling about it that Adventure Time does, but it's also just really funny and really, really inventive.
Cool.
And the sort of the character beats in it are simultaneously nuts and affecting. So it's like, it's basically, it's sort of like if you took the Adventure Time thing and put it and made like late teenagers, like early 20s, late teenagers be the sort of the stars of it, and a similarly bizarre universe, just science fiction instead of fantasy.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a really good show, and I don't think it's gotten any attention because it's online only.
I didn't know it was online only.
Yeah. But check out Bravest Warriors. I think that it's totally worth a look.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one episode you had me watch.
Was that the one with the cereal?
It wasn't the one with the cereal. It was the one where none of the characters could talk.
That was a good one. There have been a bunch of good ones.
Yeah. Out of my way, Euro goodies. Out of my way, Euro goodies.
We're napping again, looks like.
Yeah, we're gonna nap again. I forgot that I boosted my my available mission length at the end of the last one, and so here we are doing an Estrellan episode. Oops, shit.
Wow.
I dinged him
with
my
your excavator.
There aren't any available parking spaces here.
There's that one. You just need to parallel park into it.
Well, that's not gonna fucking happen. Surely my truck is not long enough to fit in here. I mean, too long to fit in here. Yeah, it's never gonna happen.
Well, you've made an error then, haven't you?
I can't sleep. It's impossible.
All right. Well, let's keep on keeping on then.
It's too bad I dinged him with my excavator. Oh well.
This one's grueling, but we needed this space because we got our top two yet to name here.
Okay. If it weren't for the fact that we're committed to consensus now, I would definitely say the act of killing.
Okay, I will
talk about the act of killing when we're done.
I don't know if we're committed to the consensus. Can we even come to a consensus about two things that we like better than Adventure Time?
Well, my number one, as I've spoiled earlier, is Fez. Hey, there's a balloon. There's multiple balloons.
Fez was really good.
Yeah. Would you put it at your top one? Number one? At the top there?
It may be better than anything else that I've mentioned so far as a piece of work.
Well, let's continue thinking about number two first.
All right. Where were you going to put for number two?
Well, possibly the act of killing.
Fair enough. I suppose that I just can't. You know what? I'll be right back.
Whoa. Okay. I'll talk about the act of killing.
Yeah, talk about the act of killing while I look over my...
Yeah, now I won't even have any feedback at all on whether or not I'm doing any well. Okay.
You're doing great, Josh!
Oh, thank you!
Keep it up, Josh!
Well, the act of killing is, it's gotta be... It's not just, like, one of the nuttiest things I've seen this year. It's one of the nuttiest things I've ever seen, period. It's, like... It's about... it focuses on the current day life of a man in Indonesia who's a gangster, a government-sponsored gangster, who carried out the killings, the executions, I suppose, of the quote-unquote communists living in the country in 1965. And he's only one of thousands of gangsters like him, but he is personally responsible for hundreds of murders. And what we see is this like evil guy and his friends who work for the same gang, just carrying on his life. Like he's kind of considered a hero by his government, and he just chills out all day. And as we watch the movie, what happens?
Great job, Josh. Keep going.
Thank you. What happens is the filmmaker does an interview with him where he demonstrates his method for killing people on a rooftop by strangling them with a wire. And while he does it, he's like grinning and like dancing because he just happens to be in a good mood that day. And then the filmmaker apparently decided that it would be interesting to show him the footage of that. And then that's the next thing we see. We see him watching that documentary footage of himself that we just saw. And he seems really disturbed by it. But because he sees himself just kind of happily joking about his memories of killing people, and like he kind of realizes that makes him look sort of like a monster. But what he says is like, I'm wearing the wrong clothes, I'm not portraying this right, I'm smiling. It didn't look like that at all. I would never have worn white pants. I would look like I'm dressed for a picnic. And apparently the process of the film was kind of inspired by that. And they would keep asking him, okay, so what should we film next? And he would answer, and then he would see the footage, and he would come up with another suggestion. And the result was that the film, like, it kind of goes further and further up its ass in terms of surreality. Like, it's very rare that you see surreality in a film at all, let alone in a documentary. And like, it just becomes increasingly bizarre, and like we get more and more insights into this guy's guilt, and in the end he kind of cracks, and like the final scene is amazing. It's just this dude on a rooftop, like, retching for minutes at a time. Like, he seems absolutely shattered. And what's kind of fascinating about this film also is that it's apparently changed the political landscape in Indonesia entirely, especially with regards to these events. Like, it used to be like everybody kind of knew that these executions had took place, but nobody could really talk about them openly, especially not in newspapers, whereas now it's the biggest publicity event in the country in like recent memory. And it's just really rare that a film shows you something so inaccessible psychologically and also has such an effect on the world it portrays.
Cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the film, so I have nothing to add to that, except that this is all the writing that I've seen about it suggests that it is fascinating, and that it might not be something that I could actually sit through. I think my dad has seen it, and
it's very oppressive to watch because it's like it's all these evil dudes with their different ways of rationalizing it. But I don't know, it's worth it, I think.
Absolutely. So on my little stroll there, I remembered that I have not mentioned a thing that generally is one of my major drivers of happiness, and that's comics, and particularly webcomics. This has not been the best year for webcomics either. So had I to do it all again, I would probably put something else here that I've already mentioned. But there are a couple of webcomics who I think have just been very good this year. Rice Boy has been, or Vatu as it is now, is very good. This is sort of science it's sort of a alternate history fantasy epic, exploring the different way that women live in a sort of a colonial society under a kind of a Roman Empire analog.
There's parking space.
Hooray! Because the snoring has just been incessant this episode. And that's really good and is shaping up to be wonderful. And so you should all read Vatu by Evan Dom. There is Octopus Pies continue to be very solid and affecting for those of us who are in my particular demographic. It is one of those sort of about artsy people living in New York and not knowing what to do with their lives, for and by artsy people living in New York not knowing what to do with their lives. So your mileage may vary, but it's very good at that particular thing that it does. I want to. One of the most interesting experiences that I had with art this year was going back and rereading a webcomic called Secretary, which is part of Nature of Nature's Art by a dude who is actively nuts as far as I can tell.
I tried to read this when he recommended it to me, and
I'm not.
It seemed interesting. It seemed fascinating, but I couldn't sustain any kind of rapport with the work, I suppose.
I don't. This is not something that I'm putting here because I want to. Because I think that anybody else ought to go and read it. It's something that just spoke to me in a way that I couldn't really define, except that it is. Secretary is a story about trying to work out the difference between idealism and the real world. It's a story about leaving for college and kind of fucking up and getting lost, and like nobody really paying attention to the fact that you're not thriving. Mm-hmm. It's about self-care and the difficulties with self-care and what self-care can represent, and it's also about woodland creatures doing martial arts.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And it really is about woodland creatures doing martial arts. If you can, and the dialogue as they are in pretty much everything that this guy who does nature art.
What is the analogy that first story opens on? Like, it's something just stupid.
Well, it's supposed to be. Right?
Okay. Is it? That wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it is?
Oh, it's something about... Well, hang on. You know what? I've got the internet right here, and you're talking about the first page of 10% Plus, the first Nature of Nature's art story.
Here it comes, you guys. Get ready for a really applicable metaphor that you can apply to your entire life.
Hold your horses.
Here it comes, you guys.
Hold on. Are you a crouton in the salad of life?
Yes.
And that's brilliant, and so you've shot yourself.
It's not. What is it supposed to mean? Like, I remember he explains it later. Like 2 or 3 pages later, he explains it. It's brilliant. You know what it means, huh?
It's brilliant without having to mean anything. It's a phrase that rolls off the tongue. What he explains that it means later is it always crunch time for you? Which I think is a pretty funny joke.
That is so... like, oh, Jesus. This is like, okay, I'm going to be generous. This is such an idiosyncratic way of writing.
Anyway, so if that joke sounds like the sort of thing that might be appealing to you, let me recommend a relentlessly bleak story by the same author, which is almost entirely joke-free and is in black and white and deals with a creative but troubled...
clearly to me as a joke. I want to say it like...
Fair enough. Which is about a creative and troubled individual going slowly insane. So, but anyway, revisiting this next year, and because he went back to it, and the print version has a very, very different ending from the online version, and they both still exist in superposition to each other, and one of them is like positive but flawed, and one of them is incredibly dark and unhappy, but seems like a better piece. It's just it speaks to a lot of stuff that I think about a lot, and so I guess that's my number 2. Weirdly enough, is the new ending of Secretary by Nature by Zach Corman. No, what's his name?
What's his name, you guys?
Hang on.
Leave a comment telling us what his name is.
His name is Zach.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for number 1, Isaac.
Number 1.
Am I going to surprise everybody and say it's Fez?
We have decided that it's Fez, and I have to admit that in terms of like just being a work of art that feels super self-sufficient and also universal, Fez is kind of tough to beat.
I talked about what I liked about Fez in that other episode in terms of the mystery it invokes. Can you maybe talk about... You seem to believe that it's applicable, huh?
To what?
It is possessed of applicability.
To what?
We talked about this before. Tolkien likes applicability just as a general thing. It's a universal enough story.
Oh, applicability versus and
the word allegory.
And the word that I use is didactic, or is like a pedagogy or something, okay. Didacticism. But sorry, terminology failure. That's an interesting question. Does Fez have something to tell us about our lives?
You told us that it was universal just now, and I'm curious about what you meant by that.
I meant that it's like
singular.
It's a fun, happy place where you can jump around and do stuff, and you.
You mean it's a place?
No. I mean that the appeal, I think, is very broad.
Oh, okay.
I think that just sort of wandering around in it is a pleasant experience generally.
Yeah. I read an interesting essay by I wish I could remember who,
Boy, that was a shame, that last exchange. Anyway.
They talked about how some games are sometimes overly obsessed with meaning things, and
Fez isn't. That's for damn sure.
It isn't, but it is smart, and it like refers to real theories about like the universe. It's clear that Phil Fish did his research on like theoretical physics when he made this game, which is cool. But something she said that reminded me of Fez was that like there's lots of games who don't seem to want to say anything more than bouncing is bouncy or jumping is bouncy.
Yeah.
And she made the point that that's kind of a wonderful thing for a game to be able to say. Like it's a kind of awesome eloquence to have.
Yeah.
Jumping is bouncy, and jumping is really bouncy in Fez.
It is super bouncy.
Yeah, and that's just one thing that I like about it.
It's a dancey game.
Yeah.
There's some dancing in it.
But I think if Fez wants to say any one thing about our lives, it's that there's always more than what we immediately understand.
That is true. It's the visual aesthetic of the game, which is also very glitch based. Speaking of the things that we like, is very much as above, so below, wheels within wheels, and also that yes, as you continue, there will always be additional complexity to reward you for digging further down.
Yes.
It also kind of charmingly adds that complexity will cease to be rewarding after a certain point. Which is true, I think.
It is. Although, I feel like we stopped playing Fez before uncovering all the mysteries that were at our fingertips and which would have had delightful solutions.
Yeah, no, but I know that there's a point beyond even which the point where that would have been.
The internet has still not actually figured out if there's a proper way to solve the monolith puzzle. They brute forced it, which might be the only real solution.
Seems unlikely, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things people don't know what to make of. Did you know that the soundtrack has some of the white noise in the soundtrack? If you run it through one of those things that makes pictures out of sound, there's like portraits of historical figures.
Now, attention to detail, guys. This is something. This is clearly the Josh thing, because Fez is definitely more of a Josh thing than an Isaac thing, despite the fact that I also really like it. And this is Boards of Canada had do the same thing with their
Boards
music.
of Canada,
I think there's
something I didn't mention is that it's full of subliminals.
Yeah, there's a definite aesthetic line to draw between Boards of Canada and Fez, weirdly.
Yeah, definitely. But also as a collaboration, it's very tight that they could pull that off, because the music was done by a different creator, but it feels so unified. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a masterpiece of design. In sort of in and of itself, even like apart from its game status.
Yes.
It's not perfect. I feel like even though the bouncing is bouncy, I feel like the movement could have been a little bit more fluid. Generally, there's a little bit of you have to repeat like tricky jumping puzzles.
Yeah, there's some backtracking
to an extent, which can be a little bit frustrating, but.
Yeah, the one room in the game that I really felt did not work was the one where the lava is rising and you have to do all these timed jumping events.
Yeah, that's
like the jumping mechanics are fine to good for like exploration. In fact, I quite like them for exploration.
But they're not Twitch mechanics.
Right. And there are people who will tell you that because they are not Twitch mechanics, that means they are bad mechanics, and those people are stupid. But it is true that there is a point in the game where it tries to apply them as Twitch mechanics, and it kind of falls apart.
Yep. So it's certainly not a flawless piece of work, but what a gift.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that I'm so emotionally involved with a game I play. Is kind of the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I still like to pick it up sometimes just to run around and collect the cubes, even though I've already solved the game. It's just a wonderful space to inhabit, which seems to be, for me, the through line for all the stuff that I like. I like to inhabit the stuff I like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
This concludes our top 10 list.
Let's throw out some random honorable mentions.
Okay. I haven't got anything right now, but maybe
stuff that I enjoyed this year. I played a game called Off. I think that was this year that Off came out.
Yep. I didn't play it. Looked good.
It's an RPG Maker game. It was like nothing groundbreaking, but it was totally lovely and sufficient for what it was, and had some great little character bits and a whale.
Yeah. I've been playing a game called War Thunder, which is about World War II warplanes, and slightly before and slightly after World War II as well, which has the most accessible control scheme and interface for flying planes that I've ever encountered. It's very playable with keyboard and mouse, which is cool, but it also feels authentic. And it's been cool to kind of learn new battle tactics that apply specifically to planes which handle realistically. It involves like conserving your potential energy and stuff. And it's also caused my brother to tell me a bunch of fun anecdotes about World War II. Being a World War II geek is one of the better kinds of geeks to be, I guess. At least I feel so. There's that one. What do you got?
Samurai Gun.
Oh, yeah.
And did Dive Kick come out this year?
I'm not sure. Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, Samurai Gun and Dive Kick. Both clearly things that we enjoy a tremendous amount and that have a lot going for them and a lot of play in depth, and we've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm stuck. I don't have another.
Okay. I've really enjoyed starting to do trucks this year.
Yeah, trucks. Actually,
this has been a super fun and rewarding little project. It's sort of hard to know whether, like, what kind of viewership we actually have, or
it's clear that some of you really enjoy these, and that's great.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. Although it is, I think, as we discussed before, a little bit beside the point. In fact.
Yeah, it is, but it does make it more fun to do that we know someone's actually listening.
Absolutely. This is, by the way, I've been looking at the clock. This is an incredibly long episode. At this point.
I mean, whatever. We thought of a concept that took the time we had.
That's true, but it's still not over at this point.
We're almost there. Almost there. Oh my god, I'm actually running late. That's funny because I don't really know how it could have been much faster.
Well, you napped twice.
Well, but I'd be falling asleep if I hadn't napped twice. Whatever.
Regardless, we're getting there now.
Yep.
I'm actually kind of losing my voice.
A happy accident, I think, but we'll try and make the next one back down to the normal length.
Mm-hmm. And it's been a good year for.
I had a thought I wanted to say about these top 10 lists in general, but I've forgotten what it was.
What a shame.
No.
Yeah.
Leave us in the comments your top 10 list of our truck episodes. There's been 10, so just put them in order.
Put them in order. That
Yeah.
Obviously, well, you know which one's the worst one. I'm not going to even mention it. But
which one's the worst one?
No, that was a joke. I don't know what the worst one is.
It sounded very serious.
Yeah, no. The worst one is the one that where you felt the most self-doubt, and in reality, I was judging you the whole time.
Oh no. The same goes to you, mister.
What? I never feel self-doubt.
That's not true.
God,
I know this for a fact.
You should hear the Christmas episode that we tried to record. That's not in my top 10 list.
It's a story worth telling.
That's in my bottom 10 list.
I want to tell this story in 2 sentences.
All right, go ahead and tell the story.
I said that we're doing a Christmas episode, and Isaac got really upset.
I did not get really upset.
He got really upset, and he brought all the liquor in the house into the room, and drank it and passed out while we were recording the episode.
That's not really what happened. But it is similar enough to what happened that you may have in fact captured the spirit of what happened. Yeah, I don't know. The holidays are a weird time for me, people.
Cool bridge.
Yeah, it is a cool bridge.
So
I'm much more comfortable with the new year.
Here's some.
Seems like something everybody can agree on.
Here's a little meta commentary. I think in the future, this is a buffer. We've obviously recorded this well in advance of when you're hearing it.
Yep.
This is going to be the last one we record in the year, and it's kind of necessary, obviously, because we're going to be in separate places for the holidays. But in the future, we should probably not backlog these as much as we have been doing.
Yeah, no.
I think backlogging them when it's necessary to backlog them is fine, but it would help if we were talking about Beyonce when Beyonce came out and so on. We can easily do these like a couple of days before they go up.
Well, I agree.
Okay.
You have been the progenitor of the banking as general matter.
Yes, but after seeing the effect it's had, I think it would be an improvement.
Cool. Teething, and it's also part of like the regular trying to get a regular work schedule thing down.
Yeah,
it's just to do one while the doing's as good as is.
Yep. Yeah. In terms of establishing better work habits for me, this series has been wildly unsuccessful. I'll have to look at Plan B in that regard.
Yeah, I think that this was never going to be the magic bullet on that one.
No, it was not. I mean, it might have been back when it was something I would pre-write to a degree, but that was frankly never going to happen.
Mm. Well, maybe we can try to insert pre-written bits into this.
Perhaps.
That would get me running also, which would be something. Why don't we do a thing next year where part of every episode of Trucks is that we share something that we have written?
It's worth attempting.
Yeah, let's give that a shot at least once and see whether it feels like a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to read anything while driving a truck.
I'll take over.
Okay.
Look, I was drunk on Christmas, okay?
Okay.
I will drive truck well. I will not cost you all of your euros.
Will I even attempt to park the truck this time?
It seems unlikely.
This has gone on for such.
I know. I'm losing my will to live.
Thing.
If you're still here at the end,
God bless you.
I want you to know that if I knew who you were, I would send you a Christmas basket.
Well, you're inviting someone to just tell you who they are.
Yeah. No. Fuck it. If you're still listening at this point, you know where you can find me. You send me a Christmas basket ask, and I will send you a fucking Christmas basket in March.
Cool, man. All right. That's your fucking bonus prize for listening to our trucks. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I will put some shit in a basket. Not shit, literally.
I really hope you end up having to send out a Christmas basket. I think Dunk is going to ask you for a Christmas basket. Dunk, you're disqualified.
Dunk cannot have a Christmas basket.
Okay.
All right, Charmery. And now we're stuck in traffic.
Oh, God. It's tempting to just sign off now.
No.
We're going to see this through the end.
Got to get to the bitter end, the end of the year, the end of everything. Let's do this.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
I don't.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
I don't.
We wish you a Merry Fishmas.
Yes, I'll do that.
And a crappy New Year.
No, I knew you were going to do that. But a crappie is a kind of fish. Did you know that?
I did. That was the joke. I'm lying.
Damn it. Am I making that up? Nope, I'm not. It's a fish.
Wow. Did you just
looks
Google
like
crappy fish?
I did.
Oh, it's spelled I-E.
Yep. It's of the genus Promoxis.
Good to know, everybody. Fish facts.
Fish facts.
Next Trucks episode, nothing but fish facts.
Oh, Fish Facts, the truck app. I know some fish facts.
Tell me one.
What's the unit? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you what my favorite fish name is.
Okay. Guppy.
No. It's the sarcastic fringe head.
What?
That's a genuine fish.
The sarcastic French head. Does it look sarcastic?
Let's find out. We'll link to sarcastic fringe head in the... Oh, Jesus.
I'm going to see if I can figure out how to superimpose it.
That's what it looks like.
I'm having a hard time figuring out what I'm looking at.
It's a mouth.
Oh God, does it burrow in the ground and just eat?
Yep, that's the one.
Oh, he does look kind of French.
Yeah.
In like that really unfortunate stereotypical
fringe head. Fringe.
Oh, okay. That's different.
He is Noeclinus blancardi, a ferocious fish. Here is him on land.
I'm really having trouble reconciling the shape of this fish.
It's a.
You guys had better hope that I can figure out how to put like fish pictures over the video.
Yeah, because it's just nothing but fish pictures at this point.
Okay, I'm gonna try and do a wide circle.
My second favorite fish is called the pout.
The pout.
Yep.
Does it pout?
I'm gonna show you a picture of the pout.
Okay, I'm gonna make one attempt at parking this truck.
A facial expression. B, a commune in the Thiers region of western Senegal. Or 3, Trisospis luscus. There it is.
Oh, no, I'm parking. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a pretty ordinary looking fish, honestly.
Yeah.
This is actually looking okay.
Park. Oh shit, it's poetry time, isn't it?
Oh God, I forgot. We have yet to receive any feedback on this tradition because literally we've been doing it, but like none of those episodes have gone up. talk about a backlog, huh? Damn it, I was so close.
They dream only of America, to be lost among the 13 million pillars of grass. This honey is delicious, though it burns the throat. And hiding from darkness in barns, they can be grown-ups now, and the murderer's ashtrays more easily the lake a lilac cube. He holds a key in his right hand. Please, he asked willingly. He is 30 years old. That was before we could drive hundreds of miles at night through dandelions. When his headache grew worse, we stopped at a wire filling station. Now he cared only about signs. Was the cigar a sign? And what about the key? He went slowly into the bedroom. I would not have broken my leg if I had not fallen against the living room table. What is it to be back beside the bed? There is nothing to do for our liberation except wait in the horror of it. And I am lost without you.
Who wrote that?
John Ashbery.
Oh, he's good. I didn't really follow.
That's fine, you were parking the truck.
Oh,
yes!
Hey. Oh, okay, go forward. We're gonna do it. Yes!
Yes! Yes!
Yes!
Happy
New
Year!
Happy New Year. And
oh, God. This one felt like a particularly difficult shit.
A particularly difficult shit?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.